You can imagine the spectacle that came towards Bangkok as these farmers on tractors, farming vehicles that had been modified for them, trailers and quad bikes came en masse down the major highway towards the capital. They brought all sorts of provisions with them as well. They said they were prepared to stay. More than 3,000 farmers are estimated by the National Security Chief to be in around about 800 vehicles. They said they were heading to the airport to try and get their money back. Now, this is all about a rice scheme that was set up back in 2011 by Prime Minister Yingluck's party, the Thai Party, to offer them a set rate for their produce. Of course, there's many provinces that are known as the rice bowl provinces that send rice around the world from Thailand. So these farmers had a set price. It turned out that was way above the market price, and although they've been paid every year so far, they haven't been paid this year. And so, Jonathan, as there's been an increase in protests against the government, the farmers decided to join in. And as they came down that highway, you can just imagine the scene and what the government must have been thinking, because if they were planning to go to the airport, that could have caused chaos. The number of vehicles that were there had shut down the highway that we were on. We became stuck in that traffic too. Traffic was diverted right around Bangkok on various ring roads. So imagine if it was at the airport. And of course, one thing that we keep reminding everyone throughout these various protests that are springing up now in battling Prime Minister Yingluck is that Thailand's economy is heavily dependent on not only its rice and exports like that, but also its tourism industry. So you can imagine that the government wanted to avoid that. So late last night, the farmers bedded down for a second night en route from central Thailand to the capital, Bangkok. They said they were going to stay there until they're told they're going to get paid and when they're going to get paid. And in the last hour, Jonathan, the government negotiated with them, with the leader that we spoke to yesterday on that highway, and told them that you will be paid at the beginning of next week. And now it looks like they have accepted that deal and are going to turn around and go back home. Jonathan?
How many of those farmers were once supporters of the Prime Minister? I mean, through all of this, we've been told that she's popular in rural areas, and this rice scheme was a big vote getter.
Yeah, that's the extraordinary twist of fate for Prime Minister Yingluck, who was facing a lot of opposition from the PDRC, the People's Democratic Reform Committee, which is considered to be largely people from the south and the capital, Bangkok, and then the north and rural communities, supporters of hers. And this is the major criticism, that she, what the opposition say is that she was buying votes by setting up this rice scheme from the rural community. And yes, a lot of people from the rural communities, particularly farmers, did support her in the last election and did give her their vote. And now it does seem that many of them disgruntled because, as they told me, look, we don't get paid. We work incredibly hard on these fields. We want to put food on our table. And that, of course, is going to anger anyone, anywhere in the world, against their government if they're not being paid. And there's a very interesting sign I want to tell you about, Jonathan, that we saw, that they had written, Prime Minister Yingluck is eating rice while all we have left is salt. So a striking message there for the Prime Minister and for the government. And as I walked around all of these tractors and saw the people, you can see the level of poverty that they come from, see the basics that they have, and they brought everything they had with them. They brought their cooking equipment, their gas utensils, their fruits and vegetables, and said, if we have to stay here until we get paid, we'll stay here. We have children to feed. Jonathan?
So how does this play into the larger protests that we have been seeing from urban Thais? I mean, still more pressure, this time from a different source on the Prime Minister?
Yeah, it seems the pressure is mounting on Prime Minister Yingluck, and no one really knows just how long she plans to hold out on this. There's been a lot of discussion amongst people as to, will she do the honourable thing and finally step down? We asked her this on CNN a few weeks ago, and she said, no, why should I? You know, I was voted in democratically. I'll be voted out. If I'm going to go, that's the way I'm going to go. But she is an embattled Prime Minister now. We've got this People's Democratic Reform Committee group that is still out on the streets of Bangkok, dotted around various places. The courts ruled that they can't be forcibly removed for the time being. We've got the farmers that are you know, they're making enough threats for the government to have to listen and sit up. And of course, now Prime Minister Yingluck is also facing the potential of charges from the National Anti-Counter-Corruption Committee about this rice scheme.